Okay, this is World Paranormal Research Society. We got PJ Kavanagh joining us. He's with Paranormal Awakenings out of Ireland. Paranormal Awakenings Ireland. And PJ, it's great to have you back on the show again. And yeah, thank you for joining us on such short notice.
No worries. Thanks for calling us.
Yeah, no problem. So again, you're here with Timothy and Alexandria. So today's show, we're actually going to talk about a castle that you're very familiar with, Strongford Castle. And if you could just tell us a little bit about the hauntings there, what you found during your investigations.
We got some very, very clear EVPs. Just a few pictures and not much else. But it is very, very haunted. It's a place I'd like to go back to again. But the history of the castle itself, it's not really a castle. It was actually a tower house, and Ireland was dotted throughout the whole country with them back in the medieval times. This particular one was built around the 15th century. As I say, it's a miniature castle. They were called tower houses, and they were there as watch forts. So people could see the enemy coming from maybe miles and miles around. But as the years went by, they became castles, small castles. This particular one was owned by the Burgo family, later on anglicised to Burke.
PJ, when you were saying it's Alexandria here, like a tower or a watch point, being built in the 15th century, what would the fortification be watching for in that particular time in history? What would be the purpose? Who would be the enemy in history at that time?
That's a good question, but the simple answer is the Irish were the enemy, because these castles or tower houses were all built by the British, who were occupying Ireland back in the time.
Oh.
So the enemy was poor Paddy the Irishman.
So the British come to Ireland and make the locals, the Irish people, the enemy, that is very screwed up in our opinion.
It's not a lot of people throughout the world seem to know the history between the English and the Irish. You know, it was Rule Britannia all the way. Every country they ever went to, they tried to take over, and they did in a lot of cases. But unfortunately, ours was one of them.
Now, I know when you and Philip were on our last show that we did, this out there called Haunted Ireland, where we were talking about the EVPs that you picked up in that Strongford Castle, and that's actually the name of it, is Strongford Castle.
Yes.
Well, you were talking about some of the EVPs, and can you just elaborate a little bit about what was the situations what was going on when you captured the EVPs?
Well, in one case, we were up in the master bedroom, and we got a few EVPs. Some were better than others, so I kind of picked out one of our very best to play for your listeners tonight. And on another occasion, in the same master's bedroom, we were just setting up equipment, and we happened to have a camcorder or a body cam running at the time. And we were just about to leave a static camera on one of the windows. And as we were doing so, this very, very nasty EVP cuts across. And I have to warn your listeners now, it's not very pleasant. It actually says, "Fuck your kind." Now, we don't know, does that mean F mankind or F the paranormal investigator kind? We don't know. But that's what came across. F your kind. And it's very, very clear, awful easy to hear.
Yeah, can you play that for us right now?
I'm going to have a go. It might take a second or two.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate it, man.
How's that for you? Did you get that one, Tim?
Yeah, I could hear that one, but I couldn't make out the words too clear.
I've already sent you that particular clip, so you'll have it. You just have to go and look for it. You haven't.
I know. But and then that's what they're saying in that one is F your kind?
Yeah, if you're kind, yes. Is it mankind or paranormal investigator kind? That's open for discussion.
Or
But I would say it's investigators. I'd say he's telling us to get lost.
But you know what? Going back on what you had just said about Strongford Castle being built by the British, do you think that they could have been also another option would be saying the Irish kind?
It could easily be. It could easily be.
If it's a British spirit, maybe with a lot of animosity towards the Irish people, that would be an option. Or it could have been a demonic voice. We don't know for sure.
I think we're more along the demonic side because the Burgos or the Burkes, they all settled into Ireland eventually because they won the castle over from the British, you know. So it would have been an Irish castle at that stage. But they were all initially built by the British.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's pretty unique. And I've had that happen several occasions where you're setting up equipment and then you'll pick up an EVP during that process. But I've never heard something
completely out of the blue. Yeah, you're not expecting it. Completely out of the blue.
Yeah, completely out of the blue. You're not even ready. You don't even have the equipment set up yet, and you're still in the middle of setting everything up.
Yeah.
And then bam, there you go.
Yeah.
I had a question for you, PJ. Upon entering the tower, the stronghold, did you pick up any kind of like energies? Did you like anything negative, anything heavy, or anything in the atmosphere that kind of affected you while you were on the premises?
Oh yes, there was a lot of that going on. A couple of the guys actually became quite ill. They were complaining of breathlessness and severe headache and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And myself, I always get tired when I go to these places, and if there's any activity going on, two things always happen to me. I get very, very tired, and I get a terrible, terrible thirst. I always have to bring water with me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just cannot satisfy this thirst when it comes on me. I have to keep sipping water all night long. Try and do it off camera. Sometimes I get caught on camera, but I'm always having to sip water. I can't explain the reason for that. It just happens.
Right. Were there any kind of dungeons or any underground passages that were in this particular strong fort or whatever at that time?
No, not in this particular one, because as I say, it was only ever designed as a watchtower.
Right.
We have been to other classes now where there are dungeons, but not this particular one. Although there's rumours that there are the spirit of two children there, and we actually know that there are two children there.
Okay. So what's the other EVP that you have that you would like to play?
Yeah, I'm going to attempt to play that for you now.
Okay.
See how it goes. This is a little long now, maybe 10, 15 seconds. Wow. Did you hear that? That was big. Did you hear that? It's not Mr. Burke, it's Sir Burke. Well, I call him whatever I like. He has no manners. Did you hear that, PJ? I did hear it. I'd like to play it again. Yeah, I heard that. I'd like to play it again. Oh, sorry. What was that? What was that? What was that?
All right, yeah, that's awesome. And so your overall belief about the hauntings there. What is your overall thought process? I know you said you thought it may be demonic, but do you think there could be more than just a demon in there? Maybe it's like you said, you've heard stories of children in there or something. Do you think that it's
Yeah, there are
other
a couple of
spirits?
children there. Burke himself is in that castle. He was a keen hunter. Himself and several of his elite pals, all these well-to-do people at the time, used to like to go hunting. And there was a guy there, another famous Irish name, Blake. He attended this hunting party without being invited. And Burke took exception to this fact because he reckoned that this Blake guy wasn't of pure enough bloodline to be associating with his friends on this hunting party. So they were swapping insults with one another, and it ended up that they decided that they'd sort it out in the gentlemanly way at the time by having a duel, pistol duel. So on Christmas morning in 1822, Mr. Burke, actually his name was Ulick Burke, said goodbye to his wife and children, and he headed off to the town of Loughrea, which is about 15 miles or thereabouts from where the castle is now, to have his duel with this Mr. Blake. The authorities got wind of what was going on, and they prevented the duel from happening. But the two guys weren't letting that go away. They wanted to have this duel because the gauntlet was now thrown down. They moved on to another town some 20 miles away, a town called Port Kavanagh, and it's just on the borders of Galway and County Tipperary. It's just a little river separates one from the other. They had a duel on that bridge there, and Burke was fatally wounded, mortally wounded. He never returned home that day for his Christmas dinner. That was the end of him. So he haunts that castle to this day. He's there. Several people have seen tall, dark figure wandering up and down the stairs and in and out the main living quarters. And it is believed that it is Ulick Burke himself, because he was a big, big man.
Yeah. And so your overall impression of the place, but when you first come upon the place, like what's the overall feel of it before you even get started with the investigation?
All right, from the get-go, the second I drove through those gates, and I opened the door because the owner graciously allowed us in there. He gave us the key, and as soon as you open the door, you know that there's company in there, and they're not of this world. And it's a mixed bag. There's good and bad. There's good and bad stuff going on in there. But there's definitely a dark presence, as can be evidenced from that first clip I played you, where we were told to F off.
Yeah, is it possible to replay that clip right now? I know that you sent it to us. I know that you sent it to us.
I can do that if you just give me a second.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, man, that's and to put things in perspective, when we're listening to the recorder there, are y'all using any type of white noise generator at all?
Never. I don't believe in them because I've had experiences that's led me to believe that there's absolutely no need for them, and they're only a gizmo. They're only a joke. There's absolutely no need. I've got numerous tape recordings now of these noises breaking in quite naturally, all of their own.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. But what the whole thought process in the white noise generator is, they're saying that there's some voices that operate on a different frequency that's not audible to the ear. Like in the second EVP that you played, you clearly heard that with your own ear in there. You didn't have to go back and replay it, because I heard y'all say, "Wow, did you hear that? What was that?" So everybody was talking, and so y'all actually heard that with your own ear.
Yeah.
But
no, that spirit there took a terrible dislike to me because I was challenging him to come forward and make his presence known, and he wasn't at all happy with me. Maybe I went a little bit too far in hindsight because I got a bit disrespectful. So he made his presence felt very quickly after that.
Yeah.
I had a question too that okay, we're saying that this particular stronghold was built in Strongfort, pardon me, was built in the 15th century. Was there any
Yeah.
other kind of building or anything uh, prior to that location that could lend to any kind of spiritual present? Because an old abbey, a church, a cemetery on that particular site before that building was built that anybody knows of?
Not really. It was just on a patch of land. It's near the river, of course, which is very good for energy, and probably why they built it there in the first place, because water is very important to have when you're alive, never mind when you go on the far side of the veil. Water is very, very necessary. There was a little village, the village of Crockwell, which is roughly 2 miles away from where the castle is now, and that was pretty much it. But the land here is very, very old. There could have been stuff went on there long before the castle was ever built. Who knows? That's another matter that would need to be researched. But there is very, very little history at all on this particular one of all the castles I've been to.
So you don't
very little history.
So you don't currently know if there's a graveyard around there on the land or anything, huh?
Oh, there'll be a little parish graveyard not far from there, but it's not actually on that land. It's not far from there at all.
Yeah.
I had another question that sort of I wanted to ask you previously, but I kept forgetting because I'm not clear on history. I know England, Scotland, there was a Roman presence. I'm not positive. Maybe you could tell me and the listeners, was there a Roman presence in Ireland?
Big time, yeah, because Ireland was mainly Catholics that was here at the time. There was no such thing as Church of England or Protestant or any of that until the British invaded our land, and they brought their faith and their beliefs with them, and they installed them on the people here. Catholics were killed for saying Mass, for attending Mass. Priests were hanged and beheaded. It was terrible. England tried to bring their own religions into Ireland and destroy the Catholic religion. A Catholic couldn't even own a horse or a piece of land back in those days worth more than £5 at the time, whereas if you were Church of England or Protestant, sky was the limit. Catholics were driven underground. The priests used to have to hold masses in rocks, in behind rocks, and in woods and different places. And if they were caught, the punishment was death.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's so many different religions out there, and there's so many different people who strongly believe in their religious faith. And
yeah.
And the question's always been, if a Christian who's really believes in Christianity, who's grown up in Christianity and believes it 100%, if that same person was flipped and raised in a Muslim country instead, they would have grew up believing just as strongly in the Muslim religion.
Exactly.
And so
exactly. Yeah.
But
and all these people kill in the name of their God, whoever their God is, they will kill in his name. Whether he be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jew, they've all killed in the name of their God. It's totally ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is, because God is not about that. God is and that's a whole different story. And trust me, I can really get into some religious stuff, but I try not to delve into that too much.
Same as that. I like to keep religion and politics out of it, but that is a story or a topic that can be maybe discussed in more detail sometime. But for now, we're dealing with paranormal.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100%, and the reason why I prefer to keep it out, so we have a lot of people with different beliefs that listen to the show, and the thing is, they may not like each other's belief, right? But if they were raised the way that person was raised, they would have the same belief. And this is what I try to tell people all the time. And so,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
simply don't know any different then, you see?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Again, I'm always a history buff. Like I said, history is my gig. Um, does anybody know where the stones, or if it's the castles, what type of stones they're built from, where they came from? Was it a long distance away from their location, or is there any historical evidence like we've seen previously with cairns and stuff being taken down to build something, or was this just taken from a? Are there quarries around there?
Uh, there may have been some kind of a quarry back in the day. This particular castle, Strongford Castle, was built of all kinds and any kind of stone. In other words, whatever was available in the area at the time. Now, in other parts of the country, they are built of pure granite, but this one was just rocks of every description and any description. That's what was in it. Some had to be cut and squared up then by masons or whatever, but whatever stone was in the locality, that's what they would use.
So
And
now,
they would use a lime and mortar cement. That's that's all that was in them.
now, when you say masons, you're talking about stone masons. You're not talking about the
Stone
masons.
masons, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
no, stone masons.
Okay. Well, yeah, man. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. What?
Go
Have
ahead.
you ever wondered? Have you ever wondered why all the stairs in most castles that I know of now, the ones I've been to, they're all the stairs are in a clockwise direction. You know the spiral staircase in the castle. They're all built in a clockwise direction.
You know, I never thought
Have you
about that.
ever? Well, have you ever wondered why that may be? Do you think could you come up with some suggestion as to why that may be now? Clockwise. Going up the stairs, you're going up clockwise. Coming down, you're going anti-clockwise. And there was a very simple reason for it. The guys that built these were very, very clever people. The reason for it is, if you were carrying a sword and you're a right-handed man, which most people are, there's probably 9 out of 10 people are right-handed as opposed to left-handed, but going up the clockwise stairs, you can't carry your sword in your right hand. So it is easy for the person inside the castle to defend it, because as he's coming down the stairs, he can use his right hand.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I never thought about it like that.
That's exactly the reason for it now. And also the steps. The steps are not all of the same size or of the same height. Some are very narrow, some are very wide. One might be 9 inches high, another could be 12 inches high. And that is also deliberate. It's not just poor workmanship. It was deliberate. They were called trip steps. And if you weren't familiar with them, you were going to trip. If you were living in the castle, you get used to it. You could walk around these places in the dark. But a stranger, no way. He was going to trip or have his head taken off with a sword. That was the reason for it.
Wow. That's some good education right there, because I never even looked at it like that or thought about it. I really appreciate you saying
Check
that.
it out. Check it out. Go visit a couple of castles and you'll see. And just imagine you're carrying a sword and see how it works out for you. It just can't be done.
I like the trip step thing too. You're right, because if you do 2 or 3 steps and they're 9 inches tall, your mind's going to calculate for the next step to be the same height.
Of course.
And if
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a lot of thinking went into these buildings, for the time that was in it. They were absolutely geniuses, really.
Yeah, they really were. They really were. And that's wow. Telling us that and joining the show again. I know it's been hectic to put this episode together, because we've been busy, you've had a lot going on, and you did come together in the last minute and pull this off. And again, we really appreciate it.
I'm suffering from paranormal hangover. I don't know if you ever heard of it, because I was out on Wednesday night with my group doing an investigation, and I am just totally and completely drained since that. And I'm not the only one. There was 4 more people with me, and they're all complaining of the same thing. And I had a couple of casualties of my equipment that I didn't realize until I got home. My camcorder is kaput. And I have a very favourite little Sony camera that I use with a Carl Zeiss lens on it. Both of them are dead. They're finished. I didn't realise until I got home. Now, I was lucky enough, I had little memory cards on them, so I was able to get my footage and keep it. But the cameras themselves are for the bin now. They're dead. And this kind of stuff happens, and there's no explanations for it, you know?
Oh, we understand 100%. Yeah, you definitely will have equipment failure when you're in an active location for sure. And I've had batteries drained, but I've never had one completely destroyed.
Oh, yeah. And that's another issue. I brought out several batteries with me that I recharged for 2 days before, and they were just dying one after another. So I should have expected some kind of failure on the equipment, but I did never expect them to be totally and completely destroyed beyond repair. Which
Yeah,
they are. 2 cameras, not this one. 2.
yeah.
That's life. That's part of the game. Let's take it on the chin.